There are few pastimes with a history as rich as tennis, and the story of the game's evolution goes hand in hand with the story of the USTA Missouri Valley. It all began in 1881 with the founding of the United States Lawn Tennis Association. The USLTA and its tournaments became more and more popular over the years, ultimately leading to new geographical regions that would promote the game in different areas of the country. In 1920, representatives from Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, and Oklahoma gathered together in St. Louis to form the Missouri Valley Tennis Association, now known as the USTA Missouri Valley. On March 20th of that year, the association was admitted into the USLTA. Over its century-long history, 37 board presidents would lead the USTA Missouri Valley's efforts to promote the game across the Great Plains. In the beginning, tennis was seen as a game for the privileged. Its rise in popularity helped make it a game that could be played by all. In the late 40s, as American life began to return to normalcy after World War II, the USTA Missouri Valley nearly doubled in size, with more and more people flocking to the courts. In the 60s and 70s, the game was redefined in what was seen as the American heyday of tennis. Until that point, players used wooden rackets, which had not drastically changed since the early part of the century. In 1967, Wilson introduced the T2000, the first steel racket. Billie Jean King introduced the racket to the world when she used it to win the 1967 U.S. Nationals at Forest Hills. But the rackets weren't the only thing changing. In 1972, Lamar Hunt, who greatly impacted Kansas City professional sports and founded the World Championship Tennis Circuit, introduced the optic yellow ball, replacing the traditional white tennis balls. Hunt believed the change would lead to a more optimal experience for the television audiences, a revelation which would contribute to the widespread popularity of the game for decades to come, and earn him a spot in the International Tennis Hall of Fame. Several of the biggest names in tennis are rooted in the USTA Missouri Valley. Names like Kenny Flack, Butch Buckles, and Jimmy Connors won a combined 13 Grand Slam titles. During the early 1960s, a promising young tennis player named Arthur Ashe moved to St. Louis to finish out his senior year and work on his game. In 1968, he made history as the winner of the inaugural U.S. Open, as well as adding singles titles at Wimbledon and the Australian Open. A year later, Ashe would go on to co-found the National Junior Tennis League, with a goal of introducing the game to the next generation by capitalizing on the public park system. Few names, though, were as influential as St. Louis native Dwight Davis. A politician at the time, Davis was incredibly passionate for the game. In 1900, he donated a silver bowl to the winner of a new international tennis competition, which would become known as the Davis Cup, an event that would later be hosted on USTA Missouri Valley courts, along with its women's equivalent, the Fed Cup. More importantly, however, was Davis's vision for parks in the region. To him, parks shouldn't just be for admiring nature, but for leisure and recreation as well. Under Davis's vision, the parks and suburbs across the five-state area became tennis hubs as play opportunities for all ages and abilities were organized. The 1980s saw a modern philosophical revolution for the USTA Missouri Valley as the organization moved to expand its influence by reaching out to schools and generating programs at the recreational level, as well as promoting interest among diverse populations. In 1981, the USTA League program was introduced. Today, it's become the largest single recreational league for any sport in the country. By 1996, the USTA Missouri Valley introduced programs to inner-city communities. Tennis in the Hood events sprang up throughout the five-state area. Today, the USTA Missouri Valley is committed to developing Net Generation, a youth brand that provides players of all ages the opportunity to play tennis on their own terms. In recent years, the USTA Missouri Valley has seen more homegrown talent become champions, including Jack Sock, Madison Keys, Nick Taylor, and the back-to-back WTT champion Springfield Lasers. More importantly, though, were the thousands of other players and the hundreds of volunteers who helped bring the game to life. Today, the USTA Missouri Valley infrastructure is built to provide exciting play opportunities for people of all ages, with award-winning facilities across its 5-state region. A century of USTA Missouri Valley tennis, all rooted in the belief that the sport brings people of all ages and abilities together with a spirit of competition, recreation, and community. USTA Missouri Valley continues to build upon its strong foundations and is poised to forge ahead into the next century, a future with players and play opportunities at every level of the game we love.